Well, we got our friend Andy McCarthy with us. He's a senior fellow at the National Review Institute. And I saw something that he wrote that just kind of crystallized a lot of things for me and kind of brought my thoughts together on it. Andy, thanks for being with us.
Senator, always great to talk to you.
One of the things that I've been mulling, and I guess a lot of people have, is why in the world the administration, whether it be the White House or the Attorney General, why in the world would they do what they're doing with regard to investigating our own CIA at a time when we need them the most, at a time when they're under fire? We've already seen Nancy Pelosi do her number on them. At a time when people clearly, including the President of the United States, have said that we want to look forward, we want to move on, and knowing, surely they're smart enough to know, that a large number of people, I think a majority of Americans, would be against doing this. Why in the world they would choose to do something like this? I mean, they say, well, we respect the rule of law. This has already been looked at. So, you know, the rule of law requirement has been satisfied. But you have got a theory about all of this, Andy, and I wish you'd share that with our listeners and serve as a basis for discussion today.
Sure. I think that this is all part of a transnationalist agenda that Obama came in with.
A transnationalist agenda.
Right. These folks who run this administration are part of a leftist movement, which is, I think John Font has coined the expression transnational progressivism. And it's really a theory of sort of post-sovereign, one-world global governance. And they all adhere to it in one degree or another. Its leading theorist in the United States was Dean Coe of Yale Law School, who the Obama administration, President Obama, actually made the head of the chief legal advisor of the State Department. To one degree or another, it is the theory and the doctrine that is firmly held by the hard left, firmly held by important parts of Obama's constituency, and I believe both Obama and Holder are adherents of it. And if they are, what's happened here actually makes perfect sense.
Well, tell us how this investigation coincides with that view of the world, which I think is pretty apparent that they do have, not just from the appointment of Mr. Coe over at the State Department, but from everything else that they have done. I mean, Eric Holder was over in Europe, I believe in Spain, and they were asking him, would you help us prosecute Americans? Right. And he kind of danced on it.
Yeah, he actually was pressed by it was the German press, and he was asked whether he would comply with requests for assistance, because in Europe, not only in Germany and Spain but elsewhere, they are being pressed by outfits from the United States, including the Marxist Center for Constitutional Rights, to bring charges against the Bush administration officials who designed and carried out our post-9/11 counterterrorism policies. And when asked whether he would be cooperative with those investigations, Holder indicated that he would, at least insofar as it involved helping them with evidence that gets developed. And I believe what's going on here is, I guess, two strands which come together. Number one, the hard left is demanding that Obama take action along the lines of the reckoning that he and Holder promised during the 2008 campaign would be forthcoming for the Bush officials. So they're under a lot of heat to do that. But also, what happens here is when we generate information through these investigations, the lawyers who have been pressing for somebody to charge the Bush administration officials have fodder that they can then go back to the Europeans with and say, here's additional evidence for your charges. And then the Europeans can turn around and say, as they are obviously saying, will the Justice Department cooperate with us? And this is a roundabout way where Obama and Holder can give the left their reckoning without having to have their fingerprints on it. If we generate evidence which is then given to foreign or international tribunals, which then do the dirty work of bringing charges against the Bush officials, everybody on the left can walk away happy from that.
Well, let's walk through that for just a minute. If we go down this road of investigation, there clearly are going to be leaks from this all along the way. Not to mention, you know, the formal results, whatever is produced from the formal results of the investigation. True?
Yes, absolutely.
This will be additional information, additional fodder that could be used for evidentiary purposes by foreign governments and assisting them to bring about the prosecutions that we know they want to bring about.
Exactly right.
They would come to us. They would come to Eric Holder in this case, the Attorney General, the White House, and they would say, "We need you to supply this information to us. We need you to cooperate with regard to that." And Holder's position would be the same as it's already been, and that is, we will help supply evidentiary evidence against our own people because that's consistent with the rule of law.
That's exactly right. And I don't think we need to speculate about that. It's already going on. These investigations, the foreign overseas investigations, some of them, particularly in Spain, are already ongoing, and they are relying chiefly on documents that have already been released and investigations that have already been conducted, for example, by the Senate Foreign Relations Committee on interrogation methods about a year or so ago, or within the last several months. So this is not a matter of you and I speculating as a couple of hopefully smart lawyers what these guys might be up to. It's already happening before our eyes.
Part of your theory is that the administration would wind up not really prosecuting these CIA people here.
Right.
So they would have accomplished satisfying their left by bringing about this evidentiary evidence that could be used in the international tribunals. They would satisfy the mainstream, shall we say, by not actually bringing prosecutions against anyone. And that's the way they would thread that needle.
That's exactly right.
Well, that's I'm sad to say. I think it makes perfectly good sense. They obviously have a political problem. They have a problem with the gay community with regard to the military. They have a problem with the liberals on the Hill and Afghanistan and what's happening there. They certainly have a problem with them as far as the single-payer system, talking about the liberals, and their health care legislation.
Well, this fits beautifully.
And they have all these problems with them, and this is one of the things that they're doing.
What was it that Rahm said?
It.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Right.
This is a perfect example of another way they can form fit, their larger worldview.
Yeah, Jerry, and one other thing on that, the Europeans, as I mentioned in the article that Fred was talking about, the Europeans follow an interpretation of, for example, torture law, which is much less stringent than our understanding of it. So by shifting the focus from the American to the European case or indictment, what they do is they have the best of both worlds. They can generate the American evidence, but then they can apply foreign law, which is a lot more trouble for our Bush administration officials than if they were the subject of investigation.
So in effect, this is Eric Holder's rendition.
Yeah, I would say so. It's
That's
rendition,
lovely.
slow
That's
motion
lovely.
rendition.
Andrew McCarthy, you've given us an awful lot to think about. It makes perfectly good sense. Thank you for being with us.